Now that we've felt the warmth of loving ourselves through our imperfections, let's explore how to make that love a part of your life. Carl Jung's wisdom offers simple, heartfelt ways to embrace your whole self, and they don't ask you to be perfect or fearless, just open to seeing yourself with kindness. These aren't steps you have to follow. They're invitations to get to know yourself, to hold your flaws like you'd hold a friend's hand. Wherever you are, you can start, and the discoveries might feel like coming home. One way to begin is with shadow work. Jung saw the shadow as the parts of you you've hidden, maybe a mistake you're ashamed of, an insecurity you avoid, or a fear you don't want to face. For me, this meant facing my fear of not being enough. I'd sit with a notebook and write, "What's this insecurity trying to tell me? Why do I feel I need to be perfect?" I let the words flow, no judgment, like I was listening to a part of myself I'd ignored. It was tough, seeing my fear of judgment laid bare, but it was also freeing, like meeting a piece of me that just needed love. Want to try? Take 10 minutes to write about an imperfection that bothers you. Ask what it's teaching you. Jung said, this helps you integrate your shadow, and it can spark a love for yourself that's deep and true. Another step is practicing self-compassion in the moment. Jung's individuation is about living as your whole self, flaws included. I started doing this when I catch myself spiraling, like after saying something clumsy in a conversation. Instead of beating myself up, I'd pause and think, it's okay, I'm human. It felt awkward at first, but it softened the shame. You might try this. Next time you notice a flaw, pause and say something kind to yourself, like, I'm learning, and that's enough. It's not about ignoring the mistake. It's about treating yourself gently. Jung would say, this helps you build a relationship with yourself, one rooted in love. Self-reflection can guide you too. Jung believed the unconscious speaks through quiet moments or dreams. I'd end my day asking, what imperfection did I struggle with today? What helped me feel okay about it? Over time, I saw I was hard on myself for small errors, but acts of self-kindness, like laughing off a mistake, made me feel lighter. You could try this. Spend 5 minutes reflecting. Ask, what flaw did I notice today? Or write about a dream. Jung saw dreams as messages from your unconscious. Note any feelings or images that linger. These moments can show you how to love yourself a little more. Here's a story to light the way. James, a friend in his 30s, always felt he wasn't smart enough at work. He hid his doubts, pushing himself to seem flawless, but it wore him out. After reading Jung, he journaled about his insecurity, realizing it came from a fear of being overlooked. He started practicing self-compassion, telling himself, it's okay to not know everything. One day, he admitted a gap in his knowledge to his team, expecting judgment, but they appreciated his honesty. That shift let James work with more ease, and he felt a love for himself that didn't need perfection. His story shows how embracing imperfections can free you to be yourself. I invite you to try one of these: journaling, self-compassion, reflecting for a few days just to see how it feels. Pick what calls to you, no rush. Want to dive deeper? Jung's Man and His Symbols is a beautiful start. Link below. I'd love to hear from you. What's an imperfection you've learned to love? Share it in the comments. Your story might inspire someone. Let's keep exploring this together, one gentle step at a time. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt a pang, wishing you could change something about yourself, your mistakes, your flaws, the parts you think aren't good enough. I've been there too. For years, I chased an idea of perfection, thinking I had to fix every flaw to be worthy. I'd hide my insecurities, push myself to please everyone, and beat myself up for every misstep. It was exhausting, like trying to outrun my own shadow. Then I found Carl Jung's teachings, and they showed me a different way. Loving yourself through your imperfections isn't just possible, it's the key to becoming who you're meant to be. Jung, a brilliant explorer of the human mind, believed we all have a shadow. Those parts of ourselves we try to hide, like our fears, regrets, or the imperfections we're ashamed of. He said the world, what he called the collective unconscious, teaches us to bury these parts, to strive for an impossible ideal of perfection. But Jung saw something beautiful. When you embrace your shadow, you start to love yourself, not despite your flaws, but because of them. For me, that meant looking at my insecurities, like my fear of not being enough, and seeing them as part of my story, not something to erase. Let me share a moment that opened my eyes. I was at a friend's gathering, laughing along, but inside, I felt like a fraud. I'd made a mistake at work that week, and I was sure everyone could see my failure written all over me. I wanted to hide, to be someone who never messed up. Driving home, I felt heavy, asking myself, why can't I just get it right? That's when I started reading Jung, and his words felt like a warm hand on my shoulder. He said, our imperfections aren't flaws to fix. They're pieces of who we are, waiting for our acceptance. This struggle isn't just mine. It's something we all carry. Think of Neo in the Matrix, trapped in a world that told him who to be, unaware he could embrace his true self, flaws and all. We're all a bit like Neo, caught in expectations that say we're not enough unless we're perfect. Jung called the journey to love yourself, individuation, growing into your whole self by accepting every part, even the ones you'd rather hide. Loving your imperfections isn't about ignoring them. It's about seeing them with kindness, saying, you're part of me, and I'm okay with that. I remember the first time I tried this. I'd messed up a presentation at work, and my instinct was to spiral into shame. But instead, I sat with my journal and wrote about it, not to criticize myself, but to understand. Why did this hurt so much? What was I afraid of? I realized I was scared of being seen as incompetent. That honesty softened something in me. Jung would call this shadow work, where you meet the parts you pushed away and find they're not so bad. That night, I felt a flicker of self-love, like a quiet promise that I was enough, mistakes and all. Why do we fight our imperfections? Jung said it's because we're taught they're weaknesses, that we need to be flawless to be loved. The collective unconscious whispers that our flaws make us less. But here's what I've learned. When you love yourself through your imperfections, you find a freedom that perfection could never give. You start to live from your heart, not from fear. What might it feel like to look at one imperfection just for a moment and see it as part of your beauty? I'm not saying it's easy or instant. I'm inviting you to be curious, to wonder what loving yourself could mean. Jung's teachings suggest that your imperfections are doorways to a deeper self-love, one that's waiting for you to step through. Let's explore what happens when we start to walk that path together. Picture a life where you wake up each day feeling at peace with who you are, not because you're flawless, but because you've learned to love every part of yourself, imperfections included. That's the gift of embracing your whole self. And Carl Jung's wisdom shows us why it's so transformative. When you stop fighting your flaws and start seeing them as part of your story, you're not just surviving, you're stepping into individuation, the journey to become your truest, most authentic self. It's like opening a book you've been afraid to read, only to find it's written in your own handwriting, full of beauty and truth. Let's dive into what this self-love unlocks. First, you integrate your shadow. Jung described the shadow as the parts of you you've tucked away. Maybe it's the guilt over a past mistake, the insecurity about your looks, or the fear you're not enough. For me, it was the shame of not always having the right answers. I'd beat myself up for saying something awkward in a meeting, thinking I had to be polished to be worthy. When I started loving myself through those moments, I had to face that shame. I'd journal asking, why does this sting so much? What am I hiding from? The answers were tough. I was scared of being judged. But facing that shame was like letting out a breath I'd been holding. Jung said, integrating your shadow brings wholeness, and I felt it. A love that held me, quirks and all. Then there's synchronicity, those moments when life seems to align in ways that feel almost magical. Jung believed when you live authentically, embracing all of you, the universe responds. Think of Santiago in The Alchemist, finding signs that guided him once he followed his heart. When I stopped hiding my imperfections, like admitting to a friend I'd messed up a project, I found connection instead of judgment. That honesty led to deeper friendships, and one friend even introduced me to a mentor who helped me grow. Those weren't just coincidences, they were synchronicity. Loving your imperfections makes space for people and opportunities that resonate with your true self. This love also builds a quiet strength. Each time you accept a flaw, you're saying, I'm enough. I felt this when I apologized for a mistake at work, not out of shame, but with honesty. I messed up and I'm learning. I expected criticism, but my team respected my vulnerability, and it deepened our trust. Jung would call this individuation, defining yourself by your truth, not your perceived shortcomings. Over time, this reshapes your life. You pursue passions that feel right, like taking up a hobby you once thought you weren't good enough for. You attract relationships that honor your authenticity, and you find a calm that comes from trusting you're worthy just as you are. Let me share a story that brings this home. A woman I know, Sarah, was in her 40s and always felt she had to be the perfect mom. She hid her doubts, exhausted by the pressure to get it right. Inspired by Jung, she started journaling about her imperfections, like the times she lost patience with her kids. She realized she was scared of being seen as a failure. One day, she admitted to her kids she wasn't perfect, and they hugged her, saying they loved her anyway. That moment freed Sarah to parent with more heart, less pressure. Her confidence grew, and she felt a love for herself that wasn't tied to perfection. Sarah's story shows what's possible when you embrace your flaws. You find a love that lifts you and those around you. This isn't about pretending your imperfections don't exist. It's about holding them with kindness. Jung's ideas show that self-love through your flaws doesn't isolate you. It connects you to yourself and others in a real way. For me, it meant less time striving for perfection and more time creating, laughing, being me. My openness inspired a friend to stop hiding her own struggles, and she's happier now. Jung believed individuation is a gift to the world. Your self-love shows others they can love themselves too. Curious about how to start this journey? I'm excited to share some gentle ways to begin loving yourself through your imperfections. Let's take a moment to let this journey sink in, like a warm hug from someone who sees you. Carl Jung's wisdom has shown us that loving yourself through your imperfections isn't about becoming flawless. It's about embracing every part of who you are, mistakes, quirks, and all. We've explored how the collective unconscious pushes us to hide our flaws, how our shadows hold the imperfections we fear, and how facing them with kindness leads to individuation, a life where you're fully, beautifully yourself. The practices we've shared, journaling, self-compassion, reflecting, are like soft threads, weaving a tapestry of self-love that holds you through anything. This journey, what Jung called individuation, isn't a destination you reach and check off. It's a lifelong path, full of moments where you choose to love yourself again. I still catch myself wincing at my flaws, like when I stumble over words in a meeting or dwell on a past mistake. But when I write about it, offer myself kindness, or reflect on what I'm learning, I come back to myself. It's like Santiago in The Alchemist, finding his treasure not in gold, but in the steps he took to know his heart. Loving your imperfections doesn't mean you'll never doubt. It means you're learning to hold yourself with care, and that love grows stronger with every step. What's so powerful is how this love ripples outward. When you embrace your whole self, you shine a light for others. I saw this when I opened up to a friend about my fear of not being enough. I was nervous, but her eyes softened, and she shared her own struggles with perfection. That moment brought us closer, like we'd both been seen. Another friend, inspired by my honesty, started accepting her own flaws, and she's more confident now. Jung believed individuation is a gift to the world. When you love yourself, you show others they can love themselves too. Imagine a world where we all held our imperfections with kindness, where being human was enough. That's the spark you're carrying just by being here. Where do you go from here? I invite you to keep weaving this love into your life. Maybe journal about an imperfection that's hard to accept, or practice a moment of self-compassion when you stumble, or reflect on what makes you feel whole. Try what feels right at your own pace. If you're curious for more, Man and His Symbols is a wonderful guide to explore Jung's ideas. There's a link below. Or join our community to share your journey with others who are learning to love themselves too. I'm so curious. What's an imperfection you've started to embrace? And how has it changed you? Share it in the comments. Your story could be the nudge someone needs. Let me leave you with a thought that's carried me through. You don't have to be perfect to love yourself. You just have to be willing to see your imperfections as part of your story, to hold them gently, like you'd hold someone dear. Every moment you choose this love, you're building something unbreakable, a self-love that's yours no matter what. Thank you for being here, for walking this path with me. You're enough, exactly as you are, with every beautiful imperfection. Keep loving yourself, keep growing, and watch that love light up your life and the world around you.